27th, 1996 is the last time we'd ever see Shaq in a Magic uniform, leaving for LA the following season, and the rest is history.
Bryant to Shaq!
But it will be the Los Angeles Lakers winning a second straight NBA title.
However, today, that all changes forever, because we're going back to 1996 to play out a reality where Orlando offers Shaq the deal he deserves, re-signing him to a new long-term max contract. And it was a given that this deal would pay off. The Diesel was still doing what we've come to expect, putting up huge numbers, propelling the Magic to the top of the standings. Except the only thing was, it isn't just Shaq whose legacy is affected in this timeline. This would be a big change, even for his teammate Penny Hardaway, who with Shaq still sharing the court, Orlando could afford to be more cautious with his health, maybe avoiding critical injuries down the line. And of course, the most obvious storyline being altered is that of Kobe Bryant. He would still end up in the hands of LA, but things would be vastly different, no longer having his running mate, forcing you to wonder how this affects a Lakers dynasty, the Western Conference as a whole, and even Kobe's own personal development into stardom. But we'll see that soon enough, and many other changes down the line as well, because a change this big without a doubt will send a ripple effect that changes all of NBA history as we know it. For now, the Magic continued to face the hurdle of the Bulls dynasty, putting up more of a fight this time around, but still losing to Chicago, who would eventually go on to win the finals against the Jazz as a canon event. So as the 1998 season kicks off, the Magic continue to look like one of the best East teams, but deep down, they knew the only way to their goals would be through Chicago. Yet again, for the third season in a row, we'd have a rematch in the conference finals. Except this was Orlando's best chance yet. The Bulls were starting to get older, while the Magic's young stars were starting to break into their peak molds. Especially Shaquille O'Neal, who was in the midst of a near 30 points per night season, a new career high for him. And with Rodman at the back end of his career, the Bulls' interior defense was facing difficulties handling the Magic's assault of the paint, which would be enough to take a commanding 2-0 lead in the series. Finally, things were looking to favor Orlando, and they could almost taste the trip to the finals, but unfortunately for them, the Chicago Bulls still had Michael Jordan playing like a man possessed. After trailing in the series, he was clawing back into it, not just taking games 3 and 4 to knot everything up, but then carrying the momentum in a pivotal game 5. MJ would end up responding with 3 straight wins. However, O'Neal would in fact bounce back with a big game in the 6th matchup, forcing us to a concluding game 7, where in the final moments, they had a chance to finish the job. The Magic earned a Game 7 down by 1 with 15 seconds left in the clock. Anderson with the ball, a chance to make the NBA Finals and finally overcome Chicago. If they can score here, 6 seconds is a one-on-one with Scottie Pippen. I don't know if I love this. Anderson, he's got to shoot it, the layup. It's no good. Oh my goodness. But ultimately, Orlando would fall just short, and this one would hurt. 3 seasons in a row, facing defeat to the same team, and they'd have to face reality. This Bulls team may just be a hurdle they can't overcome. And in fact, we'll never know if they could ever climb over that hump. Because after the Bulls go on to defeat the Jazz for their 6th championship, the Chicago dynasty would close its chapter. Jordan would be announcing his retirement, a decision left unaltered in this reality, much like Pippen's intention to leave in free agency, except now the location would differ. LA would be completing a sign and trade to land the star forward instead of the Rockets, giving Scottie a chance in the spotlight of a big market, creating a very interesting duo with the 3rd-year Kobe Bryant, who in this reality has accelerated his development without playing behind the star O'Neal, already appearing to be one of the league's most lethal forces. So the Lakers will still be a team to monitor going forward. But for now, our story shifts its focus back to Orlando, where the Diesel would be preparing for his best season of his career. A new fire was lit under him, with the doubts rising after falling to the Bulls again. But he would respond, being titled as the season's MVP, in a way claiming his spot as the new face of the league, because after the Bulls chapter has closed, the Magic's chapter looked to be next, ending the season with the best record in the entire league. However, nothing was ever guaranteed in the NBA, and they'd realize that come the playoffs. Because while round 1 would be a showing of their dominance as they sweep the Nets, round 2 would push them to their absolute limits up against Grant Hill, who was leading the charge for Detroit to back Orlando into a corner. Although O'Neal wasn't making the same mistakes as the year prior, with the entire season on the line, this time he would step up, leaving nothing to chance in a blowout Game 7 win. Moving to the conference finals, where he and the Magic made quick work of Philly, finally landing another appearance in the finals up against Robinson, a highly anticipated matchup thanks to he and Shaq's historic beef. Except the only problem was, it may have taken too long to happen. Because while Robinson was on the final stretch of his career, with his performance slowly dwindling, Shaq was just getting started on the prime of his career. And after working so hard to get here, he wouldn't be backing down, averaging nearly 35 points a game throughout this series, and nothing San Antonio tried could stop the MVP. So after 5 games, this one was wrapping up. Shaq was finally getting things done and winning his first ring of his career. After years of struggling with the Bulls dynasty, he was finally looking ahead at the possibility of starting his own. Because with Penny still playing at a star level with better health management and Shaq looking as unstoppable as ever, the skies were the limit on just how far Orlando could go.
Basketball's biggest stage, the NBA Finals. It begins here. In this game, we'll see the Portland Trail Blazers going up against the Orlando Magic.
1 year after winning their first ring, the Magic would steamroll to the finals again, this time up against the Portland Trail Blazers, a team who has drastically benefited from Shaq staying out east. And with an incredibly deep roster, they had high hopes of overcoming Orlando, who at this point still had the dynamic duo of Hardaway and Shaq. But the rest of their depth was slowly starting to weaken after signing Shaq to a max deal. So Portland was jumping on this opportunity with huge games out the gate to take a shocking 2-0 lead, which would become even more shocking as things didn't seem to be slowing down in Game 3. The Blazers were continuing their dominance as they attempt to blow this one out of reach. But the Diesel would apparently have just enough to keep this one close. Down the final stretch of the game, he'd get his team a chance late. But if he can't hang on, these finals could be over just as quick as they started. It is do or die time for the Orlando Magic. Down by 1, at risk of trailing the series 3-0 if they lose here. A wide open look for Anderson. He pulls it, bang! Gets the 3. Portland gambles on the inbounds. Anderson takes advantage. What a mistake at a moment like this from the Trailblazers. They had an opportunity to get a massive 3-0 lead, and now that is at risk of not happening. They get the ball into Wallace. Stoudemire with it, gives it back to Rasheed. Steve Smith has it. They call a random timeout. I have no idea why the 2K AI loves spamming these timeouts down the stretch of games, but they do. On the inbound, they get it to Wallace. Another timeout. We are seeing an unprecedented amount of timeouts from the Blazers coaching staff. Maybe they need to rest the players. Maybe they don't like the play that's being drawn up. Nonetheless, they finally get inbound to this bonus. Stoudemire with it. 35 seconds left in the game. They're swinging the ball around. Steve Smith has it. All the timeouts are not paying off. This play is in shambles. Stoudemire driving it in. Kicks out to Grant. They finally get a download to their big. Sabonis. Shaq on him. He swings it out. Grant, they're going to have to force a tough 3. Stoudemire, the hero. No good. Shaq fight for it. Tips it out. Armstrong gets fouled. Armstrong hit the first free throw. This second free throw would make it a 2-possession game, which may put out a reach for Portland. They use another timeout. With 15 seconds left, down by 4, a stop here would mean that they win this game. It'll be a 2-1 series instead of 3-0, which is huge. They find Stoudemire in the corner. He's driving it in, looking for the 2. Forces Shaq with the block. The denial by the Diesel. Unbelievable showing of athleticism. Now, of course, these free throws are probably not going to go. The first free throw for Shaquille O'Neal to make it a 5-point game. He throws up a mean brick. The second free throw is also no good, so it didn't matter, but they wasted a lot of time off the clock. 5 seconds left. Portland used all their timeouts. Steve Smith's 3 is no good. The Magic somehow hang on in a thriller. Amazingly, the Magic keep their season stable, preventing the 3-game deficit, but things weren't getting any easier. Come Game 4, it would be another dogfight. The bigs on each side clashing down low in the paint, giving Shaq a run for his money, who would barely come out on top. Then in Game 5, those same antics would continue, this time in favor of Portland, who was getting within one game of the championship after another close one. Although with the way this series has gone, you'd be insane to think this was over just yet. Again, the series would not up after Penny put up one of his best performances of his career, helping this one push to 7.
The biggest stars have aligned on the biggest night in basketball. This series has gone down to the wire. The air is thick with excitement and anticipation. Welcome, everyone, to NBA Finals Game 7. Winner take all. A season of joy and pain will end here tonight.
And by no surprise, just as we've seen throughout, this one would also come down to the final deciding moments. In one of the closest final series in NBA history, the finale would be just as down to the wire. And with the repeat on the line, will Shaq crumble under pressure, or will he rise to the occasion? Another down to the wire duel with Portland. This series has been back and forth every game, knotted up closely. Armstrong with the basketball. They find Anderson, a big three again. Anderson delivers again, time and time again in this series. Anderson has come up huge from beyond the arc. The Portland Trail Blazers now with the basketball, a minute 40 remaining in this game. Stoudemire driving it in. Armstrong is there defensively. They kick it out to Steve Smith. Orlando has been playing great defense, making things difficult for Portland. Steve Smith's coming around the screen from Grant. They find Grant down low in the paint for the dunk. The Magic still cling on to a 1-point advantage, though, and Penny Hardaway with the ball. He's getting set up with Shaquille O'Neal. Penny, he pulls a three. That's no good. Sabonis is able to corral the rebound. Shaq was fighting for it, but Sabonis was just too large down low. Arvydas Sabonis in the post versus Shaq. Shaq is there. Stoudemire with the ball now, getting the screen from Wallace. May have been a move in the screen, but there's no call on that. They find Grant again. Orlando is smothering them. A risky pass to Steve Smith. Penny almost picks it off. Rasheed in the corner. He's going to have to pull one. Rasheed Wallace, no good. Shaq the rebound. A chance now for Orlando to extend this lead above 1. Penny Hardaway driving it in. Steve Smith slows him down. They're swinging around to Horace Grant. Horace Grant looking for the post-up. Shaq has not been getting many touches. I don't know if that's a mistake or not. They're swinging around to Anderson. It goes back to Penny Hardaway. Shaq finally getting involved in the play. Penny coming around the Shaq screen. The pull-up is good. Penny Hardaway with the big basket. It has been a team effort down the stretch with big shots from multiple guys, and now they're back on the defensive end where they have really shined here in this series. Shaq went for the steal, misses out on it. Stoudemire now. He has the ball. Somehow they recover. Sabonis gets open for three, does not pull it. They go back to Stoudemire. They find B. Grant. Grant with the ball. They go to Sabonis. Shaq gambles again, gives up an open dunk. 1-point game now. Luckily, Portland did use 3 timeouts, so they're out of timeouts after this play. The 2K AI is terrible. Penny Hardaway to the line. Hardaway did hit the first free throw. The second free throw will make it a 3-point game. Again, Portland does not have any timeouts. They literally used 3 in a row before that last possession where they just dunked the ball. Stoudemire with it now. Down by 3 in Game 7. A championship on the line. Smith pulls it. It's no good. Shaq the rebound. And they weren't able to foul Shaq. Penny to the line. If they would have got up the intentional foul on Shaq, this one could have got ugly. Penny Hardaway at the free throw line. All he has to do is hit one. And this one is all but over. That one is good. And as long as this second one is good, it's 100% over. Even an and 1-3 is not going to be enough. Orlando is back-to-back champions. One of the league's most memorable finals has concluded. Orlando comes out on top for the second year in a row after a season of ups and downs, overcoming adversity in the finals to become only the 6th team in league history to go back-to-back. Everything was going great for Shaq. MVPs, the spotlight, championships. Maybe staying in Orlando was the better choice after all. The game is all knotted up. Vince Carter one-on-one with Anderson. He drives to pull up for the win. Gets it to go! Vince Carter does it again! But in 2001, the Magic would be stunned in round 1 of the playoffs. In this reality, T-Mac and Vince Carter have stayed together in Toronto, and their electrifying scoring would catch Orlando off guard. And while the Raptors wouldn't end up winning it all this year, after falling to Tim Duncan, who would be claiming his first ring, they would still be building something special, which could prove to be a newfound hurdle for Orlando. As in 2002, the Raptors break through to the finals up against Kobe and Pippen, who would be making their first finals appearance together, but thanks to Scotty's age and decline, the Raptors would have enough to get things done. But Shaq wasn't willing to give up his throne of the East just yet. He's been in this situation before, where year after year he would fall to a two-headed beast in the East, and he wasn't about to let that be his reality again, meeting them for the third season in a row. And this year, he seemed to be a man on a mission. After claiming his third regular season MVP to go along with his first ever DPOY, finally, Shaq was pushing his team past Toronto to get his revenge, which would only be part of a shockingly successful postseason run as they go on to win the conference finals, something nobody expected to happen as Penny was far past an all-star level at this point, and the Magic's second leading scorer was the young Turkoglu, putting up 14 points a night. But despite all the handicaps, the Magic were still managing to make it to their fourth finals in the last 9 seasons. However, this impressive run was coming to a screeching halt. The Magic weren't lasting long against the impressive young, hungry Sacramento Kings. Led by Chris Webber, they'd be bringing the title home to one of the most failed franchises in our reality, but here in this timeline, they can call themselves champions. Where on the other hand, for O'Neal and the Magic, this felt like it was their final win before the organization's total collapse. Because the rest of the league around them was developing, with new stars entering the league and stealing the shine. And this time around, O'Neal wouldn't have enough to single-handedly push his group past the Raptors, who with a statement would sweep the Magic, ending their seasons easily, which was only the start of their playoff struggles. Going into the 2005 playoffs as the 5th seed, they'd face off against the Pacers, where they'd be bounced in only the first round. And over these 2 postseasons, the Raptors would go on to win another ring in 2004 against the Suns, before the Pistons would make a finals appearance in 2005, still winning a championship against the Lakers in the early 2000s, which leaves us with Shaq at 33 years old, a shell of the dominant force we saw years ago, but Orlando would take one last chance on their franchise star. As the 2006 season kicks off, the Magic had just made a splash, signing Jason Kidd in free agency, finally giving Shaq a new co-star. Averaging nearly a triple-double, he would set up Shaq flawlessly in the two-man game, allowing the offense to come easier for him despite the decrease in his pure athleticism, which would be enough to have the Magic back in contending status, making it to yet another conference finals. But in their path to another finals run was the young LeBron James and his Philadelphia 76ers. Also paired with Allen Iverson, the veteran guard still looking for his first finals run after being denied year after year by Shaq. So Philly had all the motivation possible to take down Orlando. Iverson's revenge arc, LeBron's legacy and expectations of making it to the finals, and they'd give the Magic a good run, forcing it to 7 games, but when it came down to do or die time in the final matchup, the veteran experience of Orlando would prove to be too much. Kidd and Shaq were locked in, and they would hang on to advance for possibly our most interesting finals matchup yet. Kobe Bryant and his Lakers were the last opponent in the way of a ring. Obviously, Kobe and Shaq didn't have the same history in this universe, but there was still some serious headlines surrounding this matchup. Bryant has yet to win a title in his career, making multiple finals runs only to lose every time when it mattered the most. But this was his best chance yet, facing an old banged up Orlando team, so there was no more excuses. But the issue was, outside of Kobe, the Lakers roster was incredibly weak. So for the first time in a while, Orlando actually had the deeper team. Despite Bryant leading all scorers in the series by a very wide margin, the all-around team play of the Magic would end up being too much. They've done it again. The 3rd championship for Shaq and the Magic. The first for Jason Kidd, and in the blink of an eye, a second breath of life was pumped into this team, except it may not last for long. But just 1 year later, Philly would be celebrating a Game 6 win in the conference finals, forcing another Game 7 against Orlando, where this time the Magic wouldn't be able to lean on their experience to outlast the Sixers. LeBron and Iverson were pushing them to the very limits, forcing Orlando into a timeout late, trailing the game with only minutes remaining, which if we fast forward would end up being a far more important game than they realized. because it was their final shot at a ring. The next 2 seasons will both result in first-round playoff exits before the 36-year-old Shaq would be retiring from the NBA, which now means this Game 7 could make or break Shaq's chances of his 4th ring.
We are witnessing Shaquille O'Neal's final game in this timeline. A Game 7, trailing by 2 against Philadelphia in the conference finals. Jason Kidd with the ball, desperately looking to score. They find a wide open Jared Jack. That 3 is too easy. What a defensive collapse by the 76ers. LeBron James with the ball now. The leads have switched hands to the Orlando Magic. 1:40 remaining. LeBron trying to drive it past Dunleavy. LeBron to the paint. Denied by Shaq. But it turns out there was a foul on the drive on Dunleavy. The block does not count. LeBron sinks both free throws. And again, the lead changes hands back in favor of the 76ers. Jared Jack bringing the ball down the court this time. Jack with it at the top. Shaq trying to get open down low in the post. They're not able to find him. Orlando trying to get into their set. They're wasting a lot of time here. Jared Jack just dribbling the air out of the basketball. One of the worst possessions I've ever seen. What are they doing here? Finally, Shaq comes to set the screen with 4 seconds left. Jack has to hoist a pull-up 3. Shaq to put back. Barrels down the court to save the day. A 1-point lead now for Orlando. That was a horrible possession, but it worked out in the end. 70 seconds left in the game. Gary Payton pulls a 3. He misses. There's a lot of 3-point shooting down the stretch of this game here in the mid-2000s. Jared Jack with the ball again. He gives up to Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd wants a better possession than last time. Kidd with the smaller Iverson to him. He likes the matchup. Gets the screen from Shaq. Iverson is still there. Kidd the pump. A series of pumps. Gets it back down to Shaq. Shaq driving in the paint. Loses his dribble. 4 seconds. He has to force a hook shot. It's no good. Wes with the rebound. LeBron on the break. A 3 versus 1. He's still forcing issues to the paint. All the way by Dunleavy with the slam. The lead again switches in favor of the Sixers. 1-point game now. 37 seconds. Coming out of a timeout. Orlando desperately needs to find a basket. They've had some sloppy ones down the stretch. They need a good play here. The pick and roll with Shaq. That's a start, but Jason Kidd pulls the 3. It's no good. Turkoglu fights for the offensive rebound. Another chance. Jason Kidd pump fakes again. I thought he was going to pull the trigger once more. Slowing things down. 20 seconds left. He's getting the screen for Shaq. Iverson. Kidd, another 3. That pull-up is no good. They're going to have to foul Iverson. With an Orlando miracle, Iverson somehow split the free throws. A very good free throw shooter. Misses the first. So now it's only a 2-point game with 10 seconds left. A 3 will win it, or 2 can tie it. Jared Jack with the ball. I don't know if I like this choice. Turkoglu for the win. Turkoglu sinks the shot. Unbelievable. Turkoglu. This one isn't over yet, though. 1.9 left in the clock. Philly still has time. Morning here on the inbound. The play, it looks like it's for Allen Iverson. They didn't get it to him. They finally find him. The mid-range shot for the win. Oh. Orlando's season is over. Unbelievable.
And following the big Game 7 win, Philly would go on to the finals, claiming LeBron's first ring far quicker in this reality, lighting the way for the next big legacy in this timeline. Which brings us to the end of Shaq's new look career in Orlando, where he would find plenty of success, but it's debatable whether it was better or worse than his time with the Lakers. And you have to let me know what you think. But our story here isn't over just yet, because I believe it's worthwhile to finish Kobe's story, as he's potentially been impacted the most, experiencing nothing but failure so far in his career. He'd go through the next few seasons where they continued a lackluster team built around him, where they'd make some deep runs but still ultimately be ringless through 2011, which would result in him doing something many may consider unthinkable, leaving the Lakers organization. After they failed to build a winning roster around him, he'd move out east to his hometown for a team-up with LeBron James, creating potentially the greatest duo in league history, and the winning would finally start coming for the Mamba. Through 2012 to 2014, the Sixers would three-peat, and while all 3 Finals MVPs would go to LeBron as he claims his 4th title, Kobe would still reap the benefits of winning 3 rings, at which point the team would break up. LeBron would also decide to go to his hometown in pursuit of bringing the championship to his city, the same Kobe had done with Philadelphia, leading to the end of Kobe's career, playing 3 more years in Philly without a single other ring, giving us a dramatically different outlook on Bryant's career. And to think, all these changes and more all occurred because one star bigger than life decided to stick it out with the team that drafted him.